Hey guys, my name is Mitsumiyo, and over the years, I've collected a lot of interesting questions for Monday Mailbox. Many of them are fantastic, they spark a great discussion, but some of them, frankly put, are not so great. And so what I wanted to do today is share some of these ideas, either because they're just flat out weird, some of them would literally break the game, and since many of you guys seem to really like this every single time I've done this so far, I figured that we were due for another one of what I consider to be the worst Monday Mailbox questions. And so the first question for today is, what about an operator gadget that can be applied to a window or doorway like Kay's Electroclaw? This gadget will create a force field covering the door, which will destroy any throwable gadget like stun nades. What are your thoughts about this? So you have to remember that I've been collecting these questions for years now, and so when I originally read this a long time ago, my initial reaction was, you want to add force fields into Rainbow Six Siege? Like, that sounds ridiculous. And while I know that Siege has definitely been pushing more into that futuristic territory, we got a lot of operators that make no sense and have no basis in reality, I just don't think that actual force fields would have been something that we would have seen in an operator. But now when I read this and I went back to my little Word document to see what kind of questions I had, I read this again. I was like, wait a second. Did this man just predict a Rooney? Like, yeah, it's not a force field, but you predicted a Rooney. I mean, a Rooney functions just like that. It's a grid. You put it on a doorway, you put it on a window, and any object that passes on through is destroyed. Like, that's a Rooney. And so I find it really funny that I put this in my worst questions for Monday Mailbox, and lo and behold, your idea apparently was sound enough, according to Ubisoft, to introduce it into the game, and I was just too narrow-minded because I was hung up on the whole force field idea. I still don't want force fields in Rainbow Six Siege, I'll make that clear, but you were on the right track, I guess, in the long term, because Ubisoft quite literally added your operator into the game. The next question is, here's an idea for buffing Pulse. What if instead of a heartbeat sensor handheld, it's built into his glasses like Warden, and he can use his primary weapon? This is timed though, so it's not too overpowered. Too overpowered, you say? So I know that this would come with some downsides. You mentioned that it would function very similar to Warden. Warden cannot have his glasses activated at all times, and so if you went through your entire cooldown and you needed to know where someone ran off to, you're gonna be put in a precarious situation. That's the great thing about the heartbeat monitor. You can have it out as long as you want, and if you're letting your teammates know where they're coming from, like, that's why Pulse can be very powerful. But if you were able to literally use your primary weapon alongside your gadget at the same time, that wouldn't just be too overpowered. I think that would be one of the most annoying and frustrating operators to go against in the game, hands down. There wouldn't need to be any hesitation anymore. You wouldn't have to wait for them to stop and then switching over your primary. Your primary weapon is in your hands, and the amount of wall bangs that you'd be able to achieve would be ridiculous. Especially if you were using the shoddy, you could make your way through that wall instantaneously and catch people by surprise over and over again. Like, it would be insanely strong. And so while I understand why some people would like to see Pulse changed here and there, this is not the direction I would like to see Ubisoft go down. The next question is, so say if you die as a certain operator, you can't use that operator for a few rounds, or you can use Renown to get him back. Also, if you get hurt or injured with an operator, you use Renown to get the operator to full HP, and if you don't and use him again, he stays at that health instead of full health. Wow. So I'm a little lost for words on this one. I understand wanting to have players using a wider variety of operators in Siege, and this is something that Ubisoft should strive after. Having only a couple of characters like Ash and Jaeger being the only ones that they use can be quite frustrating. If you see someone maining a character and they're dominating, having a system in place that would incentivize them to try something else, like, I get that. But to literally make it so that you couldn't play as that character, or you had to spend Renown, like, can you imagine the outrage that this would have in the community? Literally forcing people to use their Renown, which could have been used to buy operators or cosmetics, just so that they could get their characters back to full HP. Like, it would be a disaster. And so while I understand what you're going for, there has to be much better ways of actually achieving that goal. The next one is, what do you think about an operator that can shoot gadgets with a cloaking device, making them harder to see like Echo's drone? I am really happy agree that it seems that Ubisoft is moving away from cloaking devices in Siege. Echo just recently got nerfed where his drones no longer have that technology. The only other operator in the game now is Legion, and I would not be surprised if sometime in the future they make an adjustment to him to make him less frustrating. And so the idea of having another operator that can walk up to any gadget in the game and have it cloak, I am not on board with that at all. Imagine Malusi's gadget being cloaked, entering into a room and getting snared, and then having no idea where it is if it's positioned properly, because now you need to try to find this gadget that, while it does have that shimmer effect and it is quite large, is going to be more difficult to spot. Or better yet, just put it on a Capcan trap. Capcan is already annoying enough trying to find one of them on a doorway. If you quickly look left and right and don't see it and then push on through and all of a sudden you take damage, like that is going to be incredibly frustrating. If Ubisoft ever did decide to introduce a character that is able to benefit other gadgets, I would much rather it give some other benefit. So let's say you walk up to Jaeger's ADSs, maybe you can give it a larger range or a shorter cooldown on when it is able to reactivate. Or with Capcan, maybe it does slightly more damage. Or if you're playing as Mute, it has a larger AoE so that maybe it can cover 3 reinforcements instead of just 2. I feel like that would come with its own problems, like that could be overpowered as well, but at least it would be better than just having it be practically invisible. I think having a competitive FPS where you can clearly and concisely see what's happening around you is important, and that's why I'm really happy that it seems like Ubisoft is starting to move away from those kinds of operators and gadgets in the game. The next question is very simple, and it is, make Glaz a defender. What are your thoughts? So I will admit that Glaz has had his ups and downs over the years, and for a while now, he's been kind of more of a worthless character. Ubisoft has really struggled to make him a viable operator and hit that sweet spot where he does contribute to the offensive team. And so I can completely sympathize and understand why people finally want him to be a good character and to have him have a bit of a presence in Rainbow Six Siege, but I don't know if making him a defender would be the best idea. People were already a little hesitant with the introduction of Aruni. They were afraid that because she has access to a DMR that she would excel at spawn peeking and she was going to be a terror. And while that hasn't really been the case, imagine what would happen if Glaz was on defense. Not only are you going to have that great iron V-scope, so you're going to be able to know exactly where someone is as soon as you do peek out into their spawn, but also you're going to have incredible damage as well. And so I just don't know if that is something that I would want to see added on in. This also, I have a feeling, would just make Warden obsolete. Warden is already one of the weaker characters in the game right now, but imagine Glaz on defense. You don't need to activate his glasses. He just has an iron V-scope. He can just have it up at all times, and so he can just watch those angles, or when that smoke screen goes down, just push in and take everyone out. Warden wouldn't have a place anymore because I think Glaz would just do it better. And so I can completely get why people want Glaz to be viable. They want to see him effective character. I don't think the solution is making him a defensive operator. The next one is, how do you feel about Ubisoft not allowing new players to join mid-match in ranked? I've had so many games on console where a player drops in round 1 or 2 and we're left against a 4v5 every round just because someone disconnected or left. Well, I definitely understand your frustration. Having a game like this where you are literally down a man is going to put you at a significant disadvantage, and more often than not, you're going to lose because of that. But I don't think the solution is to have a random person that's queuing in ranked to join your game. Can you imagine being that person who joins that match and then you're down? Because let's be honest, if it's a 4v5, that means that the game already is almost already over. You're gonna be at a significant disadvantage. And so how is that person going to feel? I can only speak for myself, but I wouldn't be a happy camper. Most people, when they play ranked, want to actually level up. They want to reach their goal, platinum, diamond, or whatever it is, and to join a game mid-round where they're more likely to be losing isn't going to be all that satisfying. I think the only thing that Ubisoft can really do is increase the incentives or make a larger penalty for leaving a match. Maybe you can't join a casual game if you have a rank timeout, something like that, or just make that rank timeout even longer. The thing is that they do have to walk a fine line. Sometimes your internet disconnects, or sometimes just the servers don't work and you can't join the match. That's happened to me. It wasn't my fault. It was literally on the part of Ubisoft. I literally could not get back into my rank match, and then I get a penalty because of it. Or life happens and you just have to leave. And so having these severe penalties or having a downside that is too severe also has its own issues. And so all in all, while I can completely sympathize with you, I've been in those moments myself, I don't think that having someone join your game mid-match is the best way to solve this problem, mainly because it just would not be fair to that player who is essentially more often than not going to be joining a losing rank game. Yeah, guys, that is what it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. This is always just meant to be fun. I get a lot of amazing questions for Mailbox, but every so often I just like to highlight some of the more ridiculous ideas that I've gotten over the years. Yeah, guys, until next time, have a good one and take it easy.